And we are live. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Tonight, I'm hosting this live stream on behalf of Superb Learning. And today's topic is six steps to scale your professional learning business online. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. And please make sure you introduce yourselves in the comments and let us know where you're watching us today. So I'll just make sure I'll put it here. So if you're joining us, make sure in the comments, put your name and also where you're joining us today, because I'm still in Melbourne and Matthew in actually lovely Queensland today, so I'm jealous. And tonight we are going to discuss, as I said, 6 steps to scale your professional learning business online. So now in the COVID normal, we can all agree that the most effective way to scale your professional learning business is by going online. And the digital world provides so many advantages and various tools to help you to scale. So with so many people learning online and working from home, you can have a greater reach, high engagement, create online communities, and use the power of automation. So in tonight's live webinar, Matthew is going to take us through his proven framework when it comes to growing your learning professional business online, making impact, and also creating lifestyle that you want. So we can all agree that now in the COVID normal, it's really, then so many businesses moving online. It's extremely relevant topic. So make sure you tag your connections and share this video with those who need to hear this information. So before I'll pass it on to Matthew to introduce himself, I just want to remind you that we want to keep this webinar really interactive. So we wanted to, ask as many questions as you want. So you can pop your questions in the comment at any time, and we'll try our best to cover all your questions tonight. Please stay on the topic. Yes, so the topic is scaling your professional learning business online. And tonight we're streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So you can actually post your questions in the comments on any of those platforms. So make sure to get involved. Again, post your questions and comments and so on. Introduce yourself. And Matthew even have a nice giveaway for those who will be participating through whole live stream. So please, I hope you will enjoy our discussion, and also I hope you will stay till the end. And if you are enjoying the discussion, please make sure you like this video as well, because that's encouraged Superb Learning to create more of these live streams and share their knowledge. So, okay, so that's enough of me. I'm gonna pass it on to Matthew to introduce himself and tell about what Superb Learning do.
Thanks, Yana. Yeah, so I'm Matthew Mason, Chief Learning Architect at Superb Learning, and we're a digital learning agency working with entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, and really helping them take their knowledge and turn that into digital learning products that's going to give them visibility, scalability, and credibility. So certainly, it's a thing that we're seeing quite a lot now with the impact of COVID and stuff, of lots of people moving into the online space. And so, yeah, that's where we're playing.
And now, I guess if you want to just cover a little bit about your company.
So Superb Learning. So we've been in operation for probably a bit over 5 years now. Prior to that was under another name. But we've created, I don't know, hundreds of hours of online e-learning, digital learning content. And really our mission is around, taking, using our knowledge in learning design to help others to share their knowledge. So we're based in Brisbane, but we operate, across Australia and into Asia as well.
So I guess for those who are joining us tonight, the one question we definitely want to ask you: do you actually have an online course? Yeah. So is anyone who's listening to us tonight, or even if you're watching replay, do you actually have your online course? And if you don't have any online course, what's been stopping you from building an online course? Do you feel like it's maybe too time consuming, or you think it's just maybe too many online courses online, or you just didn't have time for it maybe? So So please share with us if you do have an online, or maybe you have a really successful online course. Who knows? Yeah. So please share with us in the comments your experience with online courses. And Matthew, let's talk about first the big picture. What's actually the future of professional learning businesses, and why we actually need to move online in the first place? Why we can't just keep rolling like we do?
Well, I mean, okay. So I suppose the big thing is around scalability. If you think about we're moving so much, globalization has had a huge impact, and with the online course, we've got the ability to really scale and to reach a much wider audience than if we do just simply through the traditional bricks and mortar face-to-face classroom. So that's one of our biggest things that we have as part of that process. Obviously, with that, as we can scale our business, as we can scale our offering and get our message out there, then obviously that brings around a greater level of profitability. And also, by moving into that digital space, we've also got a much greater ability for flexibility as well. I know, course creators that are, delivering content into the online space, the way that they deliver, where they're located, completely isolated, completely different to others and to their audience, and they're able to have a much more of a different and flexible lifestyle, which is probably a lot better than, okay, I've got to go to the classroom or the training room and delivering in that face-to-face workshop. So certainly some of those great benefits that we're seeing there, and they've always been there, those benefits, but I think now even more certainly with the COVID situation, where we are really limited, or have been very limited, and there's still different places across around Australia and obviously around the world as well, about how much distancing we can do, how many people can come together. And so now that this ability to move into the online space is really even more important, and how we can engage with people in that space, simply because we just cannot get enough people together in a face-to-face situation.
And also, I think we all know that even for 2021 budget, government is actually investing into online learning. What do you think about that?
Yeah, look, and I think one of the things, and I really don't like saying this, but one of the good things that has happened with COVID is that people have realized the benefits that the online learning space provides. We're talking to people now that are going, okay, well, we used to do, workshops, and it was full 2-day workshops, and then we'd go away, and there wasn't the engagement. People weren't implementing as they needed to, simply because I suppose they'd do a 2 or a 3-day full-day workshop, and then they'd go back into the workplace. Business as usual would happen, and they just wouldn't implement those things. Now that they're moving into that online space, there's, again, greater flexibility. So it's not just flexibility for the person delivering, but also flexibility for the learners. And what's happening is we're potentially able to space this learning out over time, delivering it, rather than 2 days, we could space it out over 6 weeks, giving more people opportunity to go and try and implement different things along that period of time, and we're actually getting greater performance outcomes as part of that result.
There is definitely opportunities there, and we have a few people answering us about their online courses. Empathy First saying, I have one on empathy, the online course. And Stuart saying, I think Stuart is a copywriter, he writes for online courses. So, and sign up for Udemy. Actually, I do use Udemy sometimes as well. I think all of us use Udemy, but I guess we're using it because of the price. not because some great knowledge we're trying to get usually on Udemy. So Stuart is actually asking, how much is interactive media and games coming into learning? I guess we're going to cover it in one of the steps, Matthew. Or do you want to answer this question now?
Oh, look. I mean, we will sort of, we can talk about a bit more about in content when we talk about content creation. But yeah, it is something that is coming into learning a little bit more. One of the things that we've seen certainly in the past is that learning is quite often, a couple of years behind some of the other industries. But I think that, we need to look more into some of those industries, such as marketing, gaming industries, and we're starting to see more of some of that, interactive media. Certainly, I mean, we use a learning platform called Learn Worlds, and they've now got an interactive video tool inside that, so you're able to create that interactive media. Gaming or gamification has certainly become a hot topic in recent years, and looking at that element of games through badges, points, leaderboards, those sort of things, certainly are coming up in a lot more courses and things as a way of trying to engage people as we go through the process.
Let's go, I guess, back to your framework so we can uncover it step by step. So today's topic is these 6 steps. So let's start from the beginning. Would you like to give me just an overview of what's the 6 steps that you have in your framework?
Yeah, so the steps. So this is really looking at how we're going to actually scale the business from possibly a face-to-face business or a small business with online courses, and scaling it to something that's much larger and obviously a lot more profitable and successful. So the first step there is around strategy, and that's really having an understanding of what's your plan for success. Solution, then it's a matter of having a solution. We see a lot of course providers, online businesses that have got heaps and heaps of courses, but maybe not all of them are being as successful as they could. So it's really a matter of working out, well, what's the solution that we have? Marketing and promotion is a big piece of that as well. So really looking at, well, how can we actually market our courses? Looking at the systems that you need to have in place, and that's the learning platforms, but also systems to automate some of these processes as we go through and scale. Looking at obviously the content creation and how we can actually have a good model and a good method for creating quality content, but doing it in a way that is easy and scalable. And then the last step is really around the analytics and understanding your numbers.
I guess we'll just go one step at a time and just talk about each step. And guys who are us on the line, please make sure, if you have any questions to Matthew while he's uncovering his steps, make sure to pop in the comments. So we're more than happy to stop between the steps and answer your questions. So the first step in your framework is actually strategy. So why we need to start with strategy, Matthew?
Well, I mean, it's really around understanding what is your goals. Where are you going to go? If you don't set out those goals and have a good understanding of where you're moving to as part of the strategy, well, potentially you're not going to get there. So really, it's a clear. You really need to have a clear path on that. So that's why we're sort of saying having clear understanding around the strategy is really important. And so that's around what are those goals for growth? Where are you going? It's also, making sure that you've got everything in place as part of that, to grow. It's also about, well, what's the business model that you're going to follow? Are you going to build an online course that is just a single user pay model where people just come in and pay for your courses? Is it one where possibly you're selling bundles of courses? Is it a membership model where people sign up and become a member and they pay a monthly premium and have access to however many courses? Or is it a coaching model? And that's where, it's probably a bit more of a blend of virtual learning plus the stuff that's sitting on your online platform. So you're doing a lot more interaction and engagement with people. Now, obviously, all of those models are going to be slightly different. The single user pay model is probably a bit more of a set and forget type situation, whereas the coaching is going to obviously require a lot more time and involvement from you or your facilitators, because you are delivering content, you're facilitating, in the virtual space, as well as providing, online content as part of that process. So it's really a matter of really having a clear understanding of all of those factors, so that you've got a good idea on what your strategy is. Once you've got that strategy, then you can plan for, okay, well, where are we going to be, in 5 years' time, and then obviously working backwards. So a lot of that stuff that we do, when we're looking at building a course, it's around, work backwards. Okay, what do we want to achieve, and go back, and the same with the strategy. Right, what's your 5-year goal? What's your 3-year goal? What's your 1-year goal? What do we need to achieve this quarter to move towards that 1-year goal? So that's why we always talk about strategy, and understanding where you're going is the first step in, not just in this framework of scaling your business, but also when we're just looking at a simple course. What's the strategy around that course as well? And
you have a quote here as well, yeah? If you don't know where you're going,
that's right. Yeah, that's it. I'm not sure whether it was the Mad Hatter or whether it was who it was in Alice in Wonderland. But it's that. Yeah, if you don't know where you're going, any path is going to get you there. So it's that's what the thing with strategy is, really going, okay, well, we need to know where we're going so that we do get on the right path.
And I believe when it comes to online courses, for a lot of people, the most time-consuming bit is actually content creation. And when people don't look on the big picture first, that's where they spend too much time on the content creation, because they didn't think about throughout strategy in the beginning. And as you mentioned, there is so many actually models you can do, like a membership and single click and coaching and group coaching and things like this. And before overthinking about content creation, we definitely need to think about overall strategy. Otherwise, you will spend so much time actually creating content and recreating content, which is not fun.
That's true. And one of the mistakes we talk about is this kitchen sink syndrome, where everyone throws everything in. And I remember working with a person before, a while ago, and we were doing some strategy stuff, and we took them through a bit of a framework, and I said, well, what does that look like for your course now? And they said, it's gone from War and Peace to the Hungry Caterpillar, just because of what the process we did. And we've stripped out so much information, because they realized that, to achieve this goal, we actually only need a small amount of information. We don't need all of this extra, extra superfluous stuff there as part of that process.
Georgia is saying that's the cat that said that quote from Alice in Wonderland. Here we go.
It was the Cheshire Cat. Great. Thank you, Georgia. I could not remember.
Georgia also asking, are we also talking about live classes? So I guess live classes is part of your online course, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. It's part of that strategy piece. Is it going to be purely online, or is it going to be a mix of online and virtual? And that's sort of that live classes that we're talking about. And I think, that's what we're seeing is really being successful. That's really having the impact, that's generating the performance outcomes, that is really having impact with people, is a mix or a blend of those two models. We certainly see that, there's a lot of statistics out there that's saying that the completion rates for online courses is quite low. But I think a lot of those are the sort of set and forget courses. People sign up, and there's probably a lot of issues with those courses that's probably not engaging people, and therefore they're not completing. But yeah, I think it's part of that strategy is going, okay, am I just doing online, or am I actually going to provide virtual delivery as part of that process as well?
So once we decide the strategy, so what's the second step?
So the second step is then around the solution, and I use the analogy of comparing vitamins and painkillers. Quite often we'll have people will go and take vitamins as a way to improve their health, and we also have people that will do the same, and they'll take those vitamin courses to improve themselves, so that they can maybe get a better job or promotion or something. But the ones that really have an impact and the ones that people really need or people really desire are those painkiller courses. A lot of people don't take vitamins, but a lot of people do take painkillers, and they're ones that really solve that initial problem. So when you're looking at solution, is really to go, okay, well, how do we develop this painkiller experience? How do we develop a course? And the solution is going to solve those pain points for the individuals. So that's the big thing there is, okay, once we've got a bit of a strategy around what we're doing, okay, so yeah, what is it? What's the solution going to be? What is the problems? The problems or the pains that people are having. And again, what's the prize? Working backwards from the prize. How do we get people to get to that prize? How do we get to solve those pain points? So it's very much around looking at what that solution is.
Can you actually give me some example? Maybe you can think about one of your clients or someone where they think they was, let me rephrase it. They were thinking they selling vitamins, but they end up selling painkillers. Can you give me some example where like strategy help people to rethink what they're actually selling?
Yeah. So, one of the courses, we're having a client was looking at building a course around how to build your business. And that in itself was sort of a bit more of a vitamin course, because it was like, okay, yes, I want to get into building the business. But when we drilled down a little bit and went into some of that strategy piece and looking at some of the solutions and actually find out, well, what are the pain points that people are having? So that one large course around how to build your business, actually ended up being, a smaller series of courses that really spoke to pain points. So how do I do a budget? How do I, how do I manage the finances? So some of those really initial things that people have immediate pains with. How do I generate sales? How do I market? So while you sort of look at it initially and go, okay, yes, this is a great course, it's a great vitamin course, often once we drill down inside that, then we can find a lot of those pains and start to speak to those pain points. And then what also happens as well is you actually end up with a completely different model. So, not just one course, but you can actually go with an overall larger experience about how to build your business. But inside that are much smaller courses. And again, when we're speaking about providing a solution and trying to deliver to an individual's pain point, you might have someone that goes, you know what, I'm really struggling with getting sales, so I'm just going to do just that course, as opposed to, oh, hang on, I don't need to do a course on how to build my business, because they see that probably as being a bit more of a vitamin course, but something that's actually a little bit more, So yeah, great quote there that I've got is that, yeah, people don't want a drill bit, they want a hole. Okay, I don't go to you don't go to the hardware store with the intention of buying a drill bit because you want a drill bit. You want the drill bit because you want the hole. You want the solution that it provides, and so that's where you need to look at that as part of that thing. What is the solution that's providing, and build that into your course as part of that. Addressing those pain points.
I guess it's make me think, this example here, this quote, make me think about just simple comparison. I can call my course how to use a drill, or I can call my course how to hang the picture on the wall. And it will be about the same thing, but with a different purpose and different solution. So, and I think a lot of us sometimes, forget to look at our, course from a different side and actually think about not what we're exactly teaching, but what problem we're solving. So I think actually I've experienced it a few times too. Yeah.
Yeah, look, and that, I think everyone's probably experienced that, and also if you now look at, the two biggest, two of the biggest sources for people learning information is Google and YouTube, simply because they're trying to solve a problem right now. So yeah, that people aren't going to YouTube with the intent of going, okay, well, this might help me down the track. Something that's actually going to solve that solution. What is the solution that people want? And again, that comes into, I suppose, that the third step that we're probably talk about in a minute around the marketing. If you can actually talk to those pain points, talk to the what is the outcome, what is the solution, then potentially you're going to be able to market that course a lot easier and a lot, speaking to the desires that people have as part of that process.
So marketing, I guess marketing, it's a really, wide topic, but so how would you, I guess, briefly describe it for when it comes to actually scaling your online course?
So I suppose the first thing is really, having an audience. So you can't just sort of build a course and then hope that they'll come. You need to look at what's the marketing pieces there, so you can build an audience, so that you've got this group of people that have an interest in what you're providing and in the solution that you're providing as part of that process. So that's a big part of that marketing piece, is how you can actually build an audience, but build an audience of the right people. So it's a matter of going out and really having an understanding of who your market is, and going out there is a big part of that. The other piece as well is with that marketing is, again, well, what's the community that you've got there as well. So when you're building the audience, well, can that audience be part of the community, which is, again, goes back to that solution piece and goes back to that strategy piece. The other piece around the marketing, which I think a lot of people probably may forget this a little bit, is thinking about, well, where can I partner? What are some affiliates and other connections that I can have? Just last week we were having a conversation with a client. We're going to be building a course for her. She's a wedding planner. Okay, obviously, can imagine with COVID and everything that's happened, she's had huge impact on her business. So she's now looking at building an online course to help people to basically plan their own weddings. She's going to take them through all of the process that she used to do and help them to do that. Now, one of the things that we're talking to her about is, well, where else is there marketing and affiliates? And so we've already made an introduction with her to a jewelry store that specializes in engagement and wedding rings. So again, looking at that marketing piece and looking at not just about building my audience and going out onto social media and stuff, but then looking at, well, where are there partner industries that I can have an association with. She's also looking at affiliates, so wedding venues. So when people come to do wedding venues, and they've got all of these questions and about how do I set up the tables, flower decorations and all those sorts of things. That's all sort of stuff that's going to be covered in her course. They're pains that she's going to solve in that course. But again, the marketing piece is not going to be done by her. A lot of it will be done through those affiliates. So thinking about that as another piece. So it's not just your own audience, but what is the audience of of your partners and others in the industry that you can tap into. The other thing as well is really, in terms of the marketing machine, is really thinking about your own brand and how is your brand perceived. If you look at, if you said to people, okay, I'm going to give you a free car. Do you want a Ferrari or a Kia?
I have a Kia.
I would suspect, yeah, but do you want a Ferrari? and I think that's the thing. And there's probably other people, and the same with people. What's your own personal brand? And it's really a part of that marketing machine of really building up your brand and making that you are, one of those, the person or one of the people in the industry to go and talk to about solving the problems. Because then, okay, if your perception as being the brand to go to, or a quality brand to go to, then obviously that's going to allow you to potentially charge higher prices than what someone else with a lesser brand would do as well. So there's a few of those things to think about in the marketing. It's not just about, going out and, doing a whole heap of social media stuff. And obviously that's necessary to build your audience. But yeah, think about other things as well. The other thing as well, when we're talking about the marketing, sorry, go.
I just want to mention, I really like your example about the wedding planner in terms of affiliation marketing. But also, I think it's a great example of scaling business as well, because now then people going to maybe some people not experiencing the best time financially. Maybe not everyone can afford the wedding planner 101, but still want some help to with their wedding. So I think it's also niching this market as well. That's market that can't afford this one-on-one interaction, can't afford this Ferrari, but Kia still take you from point A to point B without any problems. So, and that's again this marketing and actually segmentation of your clients as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, or if we're going to go with the vehicle analogy again, it's like, well, do you want to have a car and drive it yourself, or do you want to sit on a bus and go be taken to that journey as part of that process? So there's a couple of different ways that you can go about that as part of that process. So yeah, the other thing as well is when we're looking at the marketing and when you're actually looking at the solution and things, well, there's a lot of resources that you would be creating to deliver the learning experience, and then looking at some of those resources and going, okay, can we pull those resources out and can we use them as marketing material? It might be an infographic that you've created around, your signature method, that tells people about those pain points. And you could actually look at going, okay, well, I'm going to use this in the course or in my courses, but I'm also going to use it in my marketing material as well. So there's a high crossover between that marketing, what you can use for assets for marketing, and also assets that you'll use for learning.
We have actually a question from Georgia, not exactly about the marketing, but about the online courses, obviously. So do you think that providers underestimate the potential of peer-to-peer learning? And any examples of who's doing it really well?
Simple answer, yes. Yeah, look, you've just got to look at, one of the reasons why face-to-face learning has always been so successful, and people go, I want to do face-to-face learning over online learning, is because they get to be in a room with people. They get to learn socially. We are by our nature social creatures. We like to learn socially. We learn from each other, with each other. So, it really is something that is probably, not done very well, that whole element of social learning. So yeah, there are a number of sort of providers out there that are doing it really well. I know, I've got some colleagues over in Europe, and they're doing some great stuff around social learning, working with companies like Vodafone and some other large companies in the Netherlands. There's I'm trying to think who it is. There's another company here in Australia that's doing some great stuff in that space of social learning. And certainly there's some great platforms now that are very much geared towards, encouraging that aspect of social learning and doing that. We built a course using a platform, Stream LXP, for a client. Little bit of a brag, we just won a couple of LearnX awards recently for it, but that incorporated a large amount of social learning in that space, where we'd have different learning assets and then actually give people the opportunity to collaborate and share. There's a number of different examples out there of people sort of doing it really well, but yeah, probably a lot of people not doing it very well. And I mentioned before about, probably completion rates for courses, for online courses, often traditionally quite low. And part of that is people get in there and potentially there's no engagement, but also there's no they're just isolated, and there's no social learning in there as part of that process. So seeing corporations are starting to, corporate organizations are starting to do it a lot better. But smaller providers and things that are just doing online courses, they're probably finding it a little bit harder, because if you've got a trickle of people coming in at different times, it makes it a little bit harder to create the community. So I think it's a matter of, if you do a designated, right, we're starting on the 1st of this month and bringing a cohort of people together, then that's obviously going to be a lot easier to do that peer-to-peer social learning.
And actually, that's actually bring us to our next step. It's all about pretty much this engagement, because it's a step 5 in the content creation. And I have this picture of this really excited bear who can't wait to do his online course. So as you just mentioned before, some people just can't even bother to finish online course. They get excited in the beginning, they think like they need it, and then they buy it, they log in, and it's pretty much it stops. So how we can make sure that they actually continue?
So again, comes back to us as a solution. And if we've got building the content out there that's solving the problem, that's addressing those pain points, that's providing relevance to people, is certainly one of those big things that you need there. So having some clear relevance, but also giving people a vision and knowing that where they're going as part of that. So thinking about a framework. Okay, you're thinking about the 7 steps for highly effective people. There's a whole lot of different models out there, different frameworks that have been successful. And one of the reasons why they've been successful is because they have a framework. They've got this thing that people can hang on to and go, right, well, this is the first step, this is the second step, this is the third step. And so they can see the journey that they're taking. They can see how they're going to move from their pain to their prize. And building your content creation in that way, having that framework that people can go, right, this is the first step, this is the second step, bang, 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 is going to make it a lot easier, as opposed to going, okay, I'm just going to give you this course and that's going to teach you about this, but without having relevance and having an understanding of what the journey is that they're going to be taking as part of that process. Again, the content creation, we're coming back to also thinking about the community. And thinking about how do you use social learning, and how do you address, get the community to collaborate and learn. I love facilitating, but what I really love even more is being a lazy facilitator. When I'm trying to facilitate an online experience, doing it and being lazy about it, because we've set up the content, we've set up the assets, the engagement that we expect, in such a way that we get the community to start talking and sharing and learning from each other. And I can be lazy and sit back and not have to, be the sort of the person that's, providing all of the advice all the time, because the community does it for you. And then the other piece as well in that content creation piece. Okay, content creation isn't easy. It takes time. But yet there's so much great content out there. So again, part of this thing, and maybe it's, coming back to part of your strategy as well, but looking at with your content creation and going, okay, are we going to create, or are we going to curate? I like, look at the curation side of things, going back to the original curators, curators in museums. They've probably got warehouses full of paintings and artwork, but yet when you walk into a museum or when you walk into an art gallery, you're only seeing a small amount of artwork or artifacts in the room. And looking at how we can actually do that as well. There's so much information that's being created that's online, YouTube, TEDx talks, all those sorts of things, that we can actually go, right, here's a really great piece of content, and can we actually curate that content legally within copyright law? It's not just talking about ripping stuff off, but how can we actually curate that content, put some questioning around it, put some sense making around it, and that is then obviously going to help increase our content creation machine, because we're able to sort of, you can curate content a lot quicker than you can create it, and that's obviously then going to also allow you to scale as part of that process. Great example, we built a course a number of years ago that's still being used by the client, and I would probably say about 90% of that content was curated content from other resources around on the web, and we built it in. It probably took me about 2 weeks to build. If I was to actually build that course by building all of the content, it probably would have taken me, months to do it. So yeah, thinking about that piece is well in that content creation. Is it content creation, or is it just content that you need to think about?
I'm really like the few points that you mentioned there. Like, I always tell people also for like a content creation for social media, for example, don't reinvent the wheel. So many people just trying to reinvent the wheel, whereas it's often not about that. It's becoming back to this solving the problem and not just trying to be super creative. Of course, it's great to be creative, but again, it's not about that. It's about the solving the problem. And I guess another really common mistake you mentioned, then people think like, oh my God, I have so much content. Look at my course. I have 10 hours of videos there, and, like 400 pages of workbooks and things like this. But in reality now, then people see 10 hours of video content. It's vice versa. It doesn't look like you want to do this course anymore because it's so much content. It can scare people away.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, just going back to that wheel piece, great quote that I love is that, sometimes reinventing the wheel can result in a revolutionary new device, but often it just is just another wheel. So sometimes, reinventing the wheel can work, but the majority of the time it doesn't. And in terms of that content creation, yes, we see, going back to obviously that kitchen sink syndrome, people throw so much content in and it becomes so overwhelming. And that's why we keep coming back to, what is the problem that you're solving? What is the prize that we're trying to achieve? And if you just focus on that and be laser focused on it, that you're going to find that the amount of content that you're delivering is the right amount. And all of that extra content that you've got there is probably going to become superfluous. And again, you're not going to overwhelm people, because that, we're taking you through this simple framework, these simple steps to get to the prize that we want to achieve. Whereas there you go, okay, cool, I've got 10 hours of content. Yep, where do I start? Okay, seriously, it's going to take me 10 hours, again, going back to that sort of, analogy of vitamins and painkillers. Well, why do people take painkillers? Probably because they work really quickly. If you actually said to someone, right, well, to solve this pain, you need to actually, do 10 hours of work or something, some of them might just go, look, it's all too hard. And the same thing happens with people and doing their courses and going, okay, my God, I've got to watch all these videos. I've got to read all of this content. It's all too hard. No, I'm just not going to do it. And therefore your completion rates are dropping. So,
100%.
again,
Guys, if you're making sense, please make sure you hit this like button. So, we need your support and participation tonight as well. What's the power of online learning? Some feedback as well. So make sure if you're watching us, please give us a like. And actually, I still have one more question for you. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to building an online course? So I'm sure some of you probably thought about it and maybe overthought about it, as we tend to do as a human beings. So, and what's been your biggest challenge when it comes to building an online course? So, is it a strategy? Is it content creation? Is it marketing bit? So, what is your biggest challenge when you think about building the online course? So, and we have a last step in our framework to cover, Matthew. So let's just briefly talk about the last 6 steps.
Yeah, so the last step is really around understanding your numbers. You're not going to be able to scale the business, any business, let alone an online learning business, if you don't understand your numbers. So there's a couple of different numbers there you really need to understand. So from a marketing point of view, cost per leads and cost per acquisition. So if you're out there marketing, well, what is it costing to get a lead? What is it costing to get, to build that audience? What does it cost you to get someone to enroll into your course? And really have an understanding around those costs. And as you scale, you really want to be seeing that cost reduces. It might be initially that you start off and go, cost per acquisition to get someone into my course, and this is your marketing costs and everything like that, is $30, $30 a person. But ideally, as you scale, you want to see that drop down and become a lot less. But really, it's a matter of having an understanding of what those figures are, so you can actually see, well, okay, how can we improve on that? The other one is around the product performance, and we always talk about the Pareto of the 80-20 rule. That suggests that 20% of your activities is going to generate 80% of your results. 20% of the courses that you have on your system, 20% of your courses are going to be providing you with 80% of your enrollments. 20% of those courses is going to provide you with 80% of your profits. So really have an understanding of those ones of performance. And you're going, okay, well, here I go. I've got my 20% of my courses that are generating my 80%. Well, what are the ones that you focus on? Those ones. You focus on the 20%. They're the ones that you want to scale, and potentially looking at going, okay, well, you've got this other 80% of courses, but if they're only generating 20% of income, or the cost for acquisition for those is obviously going to be a lot higher, then you've got to think about, do we continue offering those courses, or do we put as much effort into promoting and marketing those courses? Personally, I think, you'd need to focus on just that 20% to get the 80% of income, and continually to look at that, because if you go, okay, I'm going to go, we've got, maybe you've got 10 courses, might have built a lot of courses out there, and you're going, okay, well, actually, we've got 2 courses here that are generating 80% of our source. Great, and drop those 2 courses. But one of those courses is still going to be better than the other. So keep paying attention to what that performance is. The other thing as well is then, well, looking at, if you want to scale the business, and a lot of people are probably going to start out as a single provider, just as, an individual, the sole facilitator, and you want to scale and you want to, reach a wider audience, you need to understand what your ratios are. How many people can you effectively facilitate and deliver content to without losing the quality? How many people can you still provide your knowledge and have an impact on those people without performance being dropped, and have an understanding of that? So if you might go, okay, right, well, based on my model, you've decided to do a coaching model, and based on that that you can facilitate to 30 people at a time. Great. Okay. But your strategy is you want to build to having 1,000 people in your course. Well, if you're only facilitating, your ratio is 1 to 30, then you need to think about, okay, where do the other facilitators come from? How do we do that? So it's really a matter of thinking about what are those the key analytics that you have there, and understanding all of those numbers, and looking at how you can scale them, and also for some of the costs, how can you reduce those costs as you scale? So a couple of things there.
That's one thing, like analytics. It's a boring part that everyone don't like, and often just skip numbers. Now I'll look at the numbers later. And looking at the numbers, we are coming to the 50 minutes mark of our stream, so we want to slowly wrap up things as well. So guys, if you have some final questions, please pop it in the comments. If you're on the replay as well, make sure you pop the comments. We can always answer your questions later as well. And we have a question from Georgia. Georgia is asking, is any tips on how to work out the best length of the course?
Yeah. Okay. So I suppose that's always an interesting one. People go, how long should it be? And I suppose I can't really give a definitive answer. It's my answer is really it needs to be as long as it needs to be. It needs to be it needs to be as short as possible where you can achieve that outcome. So if you've got you've got an objective inside your course. So your course, obviously, we're focusing on solving a single problem. Now, there's obviously in that process, there's a number of steps that people would have to take as part of that process. So when you're doing that, thinking about, well, how long does it take me to teach people about that? And if you can explain to people how to do that in 2 minutes, then that's how long that piece of that asset needs to be. There's no point saying, okay, well, I'm going to make this a 5-minute or a 10-minute asset if you can do it in 2 minutes. But on the flip side there, if it's actually going to take you 8 minutes to explain all of this information, then it needs to be 8 minutes. So so it needs to be as short as it can be, but still need to sort of do that. So generally what we look at, when we're building a course is going, okay, well, what is taking people from the pain to the prize? What are the steps in between? Generally, we'd like to have no more than 7 steps in between that. So that sort of probably gives you an indication on the course range. So if can I get someone from pain to prize in 7 steps? If it's more than that, if you go, okay, it's going to be 18 steps to get there. Well, God, that's a long journey that they have to go on. Are they going to be still engaged as part of that process? And maybe is there a prize halfway along that you can stop people at? In which case, then are they 2 separate courses? So yeah, generally we look at going, okay, can we do this in 7 steps? And then for each of those steps, again, there's probably some substeps in there. And again, can we actually have sort of 6 key points that's there? And again, a lot of this comes back to some of the stuff around brain psychology. Okay, there was research done that people have the ability to remember 7 plus or minus 2 key things. More recent research suggests that that's now 4 based on, I suppose, all of the things that are, impacting on us in our environment now. We've got so much information being thrown at us through a whole different means. So I think, in terms of the best length of a course, something that will take people through the journey in 6, maybe 7 steps, and then 6 or 7 steps underneath that. But then with each of those sub steps, as I said, is it 2-minute video or or an article or an infographic or some sort of other resource that you've got there? You've also then got to factor in, well, how long do you want people to actually put in, to actually apply their skills and knowledge and build that into the course as well. So I hope that sort of doesn't give you a definitive, it needs to be 20 minutes or it needs to be 30 minutes, because it can't be. There's no definitive answer. But yeah, short as possible, but long enough that you actually are achieving the outcomes that you need to achieve.
And it's great advice, because often people think that they need to put more information in. But I guess it's also about thinking not as much information you want to put in, but how many, exercises you want to include. Maybe length is also how much time you can have between the sessions as well. So maybe you need to give people the time between the session to process, information, and maybe, create a habit. We all know, we need 21 days to create a habit. So if you're teaching particular skill, maybe you just need to prolong the course just so people have time to create a habit. But the information you're giving can be quite short. So it's, I think we're coming back to this strategy and solution bits. That's our first steps.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, and that's why we always, when we're working with people, whether it's talking about scaling their business or just simply building an online course, strategy, that strategy piece is so essential. If you don't get that right at the start, then everything else is going to fall over. So it's really, really critical to really focus on having that strategy and having an understanding of what that solution is, what's the problem, what's the prize, understanding all of those aspects. And that is really just going to guide everything else that you do as part of that process.
And we have 5 minutes left, exact 5 minutes left of our stream. So let's go to the exciting part. Let's go to the giveaway part. So as we promised in the beginning, for those who've been actively participating in our session, we're gonna, Matthew, gonna give the free strategy session where are we? Oh, I lost it. So the free strategy session. So Matthew, who is the lucky winner? I think it's quite obvious today who's our lucky winner.
Yes, I think we're probably going to we could probably give it to two. We've got two people that have obviously been very active there. Both Stuart and Georgia have been both very active there. So yeah.
Stuart actually have another question. We have can you answer Stuart's question in 30 seconds? How do you work out the right level? Yeah.
Yeah, again, it's coming back to
30 seconds, Matthew. 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay, so yeah. Do you go for the majority or offer different levels? Potentially, yeah, you could look at doing, going for, go for, I suppose, the majority, but then have, further information that's there as part of that process. But certainly, yeah, you want to challenge people all the way through. So, yeah. If that answers it.
That was 15 seconds. That was 15 seconds.
Too quick. Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. High five, Georgia. Perfect. Stuart and Georgia, you are our two lucky winners. Matthew gonna contact you after the stream with the promo code. And when you get the promo code, you just go to this website here. We'll share it with you. Empathy saying that I missed out.
Well, we've got. I can probably provide another one. I don't want to have you missing out there, Empathy. So, yeah.
And I don't know, she or he. Sorry. Stay with us for whole stream as well. So I think it's fair. It's fair to.
I got three. Okay.
Three prizes. Here we go. Generous.
No worries. Yeah. So yeah, 3 strategy sessions will line up we'll just have to organise the coupon code so you can book in those for free. Mm-hmm.
And so the easiest way to connect with Matthew, I'll just have it on the screen as well. So the website is superblearning.com, and obviously you can connect with Matthew on LinkedIn as well. So what's the best? What are the best places to connect with you, Matthew?
I suppose LinkedIn is probably one of the big ones. Certainly there. Also Facebook. We've got if you want to connect with us on Facebook, we've got our Edupreneur Hub. So our Facebook group that's there. So you can just go to facebook.com/Edupreneur Hub and jump on there and engage with us there as well if you want. So there, but also LinkedIn.
Catherine also saying thank you, and Georgia is happy as well. Here we go. Thank you, guys. We're trying to finish before a 1 hour mark, so we only have like 30 seconds to finish. So without any further delays, again, thank you so much for joining us and staying with us for a whole hour today. So obviously you can contact Matthew after if you have any further questions. And last 15 seconds from Matthew.
Well, I'm just going to say thank you everyone for attending and engaging. Any questions you've got around course creation, scaling your business, scaling your online business, jump on, give us a call. Happy to share our knowledge to help you share your knowledge. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. See you on Facebook.